Grow your practice, grow your wealth, grow your impact. Find out how to spend less time in the dental chair and more time on the things you love.
Welcome back to the Dental Wealth Podcast. With me, as always, is the fabulous Eric Moore.
Yeah, I gotta have some other, like, exactly. There you go. Something, right? That's better. Like last week, I got nothing. So here we go.
I got to feel one that really speaks to me.
You never know what's going to get, right? I mean, you never know.
I should have called you Mr. Claus. Mr. Claus, Eric J. Moore.
Mr. Claus.
Santa's in the house. We got Santa this weekend, guys. Santa is here.
Santa's coming to town. Are you done? Do you got all your everything wrapped?
I do not.
Well, good. I don't either. So
there's going to be Santa Claus for me this year is Amazon Prime. Hopefully 2-day shipping and quickly.
Is it okay if I ask my EA to like just do all of it for me? Is that acceptable? I don't know.
Give her a budget and be like, here you go.
This is what she likes, kind of, or he likes it. Just order that kind of stuff.
I feel like in the past, you had someone do that. I think someone in the past, you were like, I need to get this this gift or something like that. And you're like, can you please handle it? And then one of our teamers was like, yes, I can go do that for you.
I'll tell you, I was at the Hawks game last week. And so they have this year they've got Nike's done these throwback, or they do the city jerseys, right? Yeah. This year's the Atlanta Hawks 404 jersey. And it's like got the old school Hawk. And nice. One day Grant was like, I like that old school Hawk. So then I went to the game, the 75th anniversary authentic jersey was like $200. And I get to the next game. Grant wasn't at that game, so I get the jersey, and then I was there with him on Sunday, and he's like, "Man, that jersey looks like crap." So I was like, "Well, I wonder if I guess I'm wearing a yellow jersey."
I guess I need to give this to somebody else.
Oh, right, great.
You enjoy it.
Matthew, you want a yellow Hawks jersey, brother?
I'm not so sure that's gonna fit me the way it would have fit Grant. That's great. Freaking Hawks, man. They're doing all right this year. I mean, they're figuring it out. Basketball at the Christmas time is kind of pointless. Things really ramp up after Christmas time. And I know that's probably what you and Grant are going to be spending some of your time doing, is watching. You sent me that video the other day, his Euro step, and I was a little impressed by a little Grant.
Well, we're into basketball at our house. It's a basketball season, that and finishing out Formula One. But anyhow, we'll get back to a Dental Wealth Podcast here. I guess we could talk about our sports anytime. But I mean, I think, look, I do think that. Well, we could go a lot of ways with that conversation, whether we go to delegation or whatever. But I think what's most important is thinking about what the best people do at the end of the year, because I do think that what we have is, I love the term inert time. Inert time is time that would be what we call low opportunity cost time. Low opportunity cost time is time that is otherwise, there's not a lot you can do with that time, because, for instance, patients don't want to come in, or clients aren't doing something, or whatever it is. Like, for instance, oftentimes maybe a Friday evening would be a low opportunity cost time, right? That's not a time when people want to be at the doctor. That it's not time when so I would say that the last 2 weeks of the year is there's an amazing amount of inert time, which is time. Now, there should be time spent with family, but there's also time to prepare. There's times to prepare for the next year, to get focused in. I think what ends up happening is New Year's resolutions are oftentimes, there's a glass of champagne. It's like, I think this year I'm not going to be so heavy, right? I think that's like the business planning, or whatever it is, the personal planning. And I think that, if you look at the last 2 weeks of the year, there's often a lot of inert time. Patients don't want to go into the office. People are spending time with loved ones, which is great, right? We should have time to spend with our families. But I'd also say it's a great time as a business to just sharpen the tools, to get ready. We at Tower Leadership do, a few days to start off the year. And I would encourage you to do the same thing at your dental office, which is just shut down. and spend a day or two at the beginning of every year, rolling out your plan for the year. What will be different? What will change? What are, going into your 10-year goal, your 3-year goal, your 1-year goal, your quarterly goals, what will have to happen? What would we need to do? Getting people's, like, this is a time to set the agenda. They, let's call it the, right, the state of affairs, so to speak, for the practice. Where are you guys at? What did you do last year that was really good? What did you learn from? And where are you going now? And it's a great time, because I think that after the New Year's and after Christmas, it's a lot of people are still not wanting to get going yet, right? It's like sometimes people carry the New Year's into the second, third, fourth, fifth, and schools do that, right? I think it's the schools are geared around that too. Mm-hmm. And so I think there's a lot of inert time. And I would say that the very best people use the inert time to get better. This is a time that's low opportunity cost time. It's a time to focus in. And, when Christmas comes, we should be with our families. We should spend time and we should rejuvenate. And this is a time to really take account, and to breathe and to regenerate, but it's also a time to sharpen your tools. And I think that the very best use the end of the year as a time of preparation, as a time to focus, as a time to really pull together and say, in the next 12 months, because what happens is people wait till the new year started to really start truly start thinking about their goals. By the way, implementation of goals actually starts in December. Mm. But I do think that this is a great time to use this inert time to really get honed in. I share the story last year that, I locked myself in a bedroom for 7 days or whatever it was. It came with a beard and a hat, and, on the second last year. And I was told I can't wear the hat and the beard this year, that didn't go over, but, I think it's because, it's time to kick ass and take names. And when do you get that time? It feels like, if you go through the year, there's always a meeting, there's always a patient, there's always a problem, there's always some kid that needs to be picked up from school. There's always some reason that our meetings get cut short, that, we don't have 2-3 days in a row, that we, if I said to you, take 3 days out of your clinical week to focus on the business, most of you would feel like you couldn't do that. Like, it's just too hard. It's too expensive. So what you do is you utilize some of this low opportunity cost time, some of this inert time. Now, some of it should be utilized to rejuvenate, turn off work for a little bit and turn off the emails and turn off the phone calls and turn off of those things. But it's also a good time to really get focused in and to be with yourself and to be with your team and to get with your leadership and to really truly think, where's the vision for the next year? Where's the next 12 months? What would be a successful year? What are we going to change, right? What does our implementation look like? What are we going to add? And really painting a vision for the business, because you have to start off with a new vision, not just a new goal, right? But a new vision.
Yeah. And I think if you could touch on a little bit, just to give them an idea. So you said you've said this before, at the end of last year, you locked yourself in a room for like 7 days and you started thinking about stuff. What are some of the things that you would say were the most crucial, I guess, revelations, or something that, doctors, when you will have that inert time. So what should they be looking at as they set up, potentially, if they do this business meeting at the beginning of the year with their team? What are some things and areas they should focus on?
So first, I found out that my dog needs to go out more often than I thought.
True story.
He was in there with me the whole time. I was in my office. I was in a bedroom. I keep saying bedroom. I didn't lock myself in a bedroom. I was in my office. And, one of the things I do is I actually pull out my notes for the year. And I pull out my keynotes, and then I pull out books like Good to Great. I pull out books like Built to Last. I pull out fundamentals of business. So I look at those things, the notes that I had, and I say, okay, so I take all my notes from from anything I've done over the year, and I make sure I have those in front of me. And because this is a great time to really to refresh yourself on the things you've learned over the year, and take some of those key points. And then I go back always, the reason I do read Good to Great again at the end of every year. And the reason why is because I love Jim Collins' research, and I love this idea of like really truly what do great companies do. And then I get focused in on what those fundamentals look like and what those fundamentals need to look like so that we can recast what the next year looks like. So for instance, one of the things that Jim Collins said that all great companies have is they have one thing they're passionate about, right? There's one thing that they know they can be the absolute best at, best in the industry or best in their class or best in their area. And third, they pick a key metric which they know that they can measure to know that would be true. And that's, for instance, in Good to Great, he uses Walgreens as an example of this. And this is also a time to focus on these, it's a term that's become outdated in management, but an old term, which is big, hairy, audacious goals. This is a time to go back and said, if we wanted to grow 10 times, what would 10 times look like? And what would we need to do to grow 10 times? And I always think that this is a great time too, to set a goal that gets you so excited, a goal that's just ridiculous, that if you hit it, I mean, you would jump out of bed every morning ready to go because the goal was so damn big that it would change your life. And it would also change people's lives on your team, and how they get impacted. And, I think that's a really important thing is like, this is a time to focus. If you miss this time, you'll have to wait 12 months, that, or you have to give up vacation time. But the problem is you can't get your whole team back on vacation again. So how are you going to get your whole team on vacation? No, this is a time where, I think that, and maybe it's maybe you guys are really busy the week of New Year's because of the fact that you have patients trying to use your benefits. So maybe it's the Monday and Tuesday of Christmas week, maybe it's just 2 days in the beginning of that week that you sit down and focus together. But it's important. It's important to have that time. Some of it you just need to do by yourself, by the way. Some of it's just, it's the visionary's time. It's your time that nobody else can help you with, that you need to just work yourself and think through yourself, and nobody can serve you during that time because you really just need to get really in touch with who you want to be as a company and where you want to go. But then the other part is bringing alongside the people that ultimately will help you get there, and how are they impacted by it? And I think that that's really important, because when you come to the beginning of the year, you have to be a united front. If you can't keep doing the same things and hope for a different result. And if you had a successful 2021, how do you parlay that to success in 2022? And I think this is such a great time, and I want people to hear this message. It's easy to drink eggnog and sit back and, overeat and, all those good things. But shit, some part of life needs to be that. So I'm not saying don't enjoy yourself. Enjoy yourself. Spend time with your family. Break bread. Turn off work for a little bit. So I would say there's this ability to recharge, and maybe you don't work clinically the last week, or maybe you take 2 or 3 days to not work clinically the last day, but you have your associates work, and you just focus in on, hey, this is the time that I'm going to sit down as a CEO. I'm going to lock myself in a room, and I'm just going to read, and I'm going to think, and I locked myself in a room because I didn't want any distractions. And it's important to have time that you're not distracted so that you can just really hone in on the next year. You can't just simply set a goal. You have to set a new vision. I'll say that again, so you guys make sure you guys get that. It's not about setting a goal. It's about setting a new vision. Goals are just part of that vision.
So when setting a vision, I know some of the podcast listeners are saying, I have trouble doing that. Is there any tips or tricks that, you use in the past, or you've seen in a book that helps with vision casting, like creating that vision? Is there anything you can give the listeners, like a little tidbit?
I learned years ago that not everybody is a visionary. I used to think I could make people visionaries, and some people are and some people are not, and that's okay. I would start internally with myself, and I would say, if I woke up 10 years from now and I had the absolute best life, and my company was doing exactly what I want it to be, what would that look like? I'm talking about marriage. I'm talking about how many patients you have, how many offices you have. What does your day look like? Like, write out, what does Monday look like? Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, 7 days, because it's actually a 7-day week. What does that actually look like? What would you be doing? Where would you be traveling? Where would you be going? And the more specific you can be, the better.
Yeah. And I think I always like your concept of, when you figure out the vision and you're trying to put together that plan, when you do your T chart of closer or further, and you have your vision at the top and closer or further, do this as you build out your plan for 2022, you can sit there and say, all right, does this decision get me closer or further? If it gets you further away, don't do it. Just remove it from your plan. And I think as you use this time to develop what your vision is, the next step is to utilize that in order to create the business for 2022.
Yeah. I look at this and what gets you close? Well, let me just go back and say it. So once you do your 10-year, then you say, okay, well, if that's what 10-year would look like, what would 3-year need to look like? So for me to be on pace for my 10 in 3 years, I would need to do, and you can do 5 years if you want, I don't really care. So, hey, what would my life look like in 5 years? Well, how many offices would I have? How many employees would I have? That part is pretty simple. And then you do the same thing for 12 months and then create something that's worth getting excited about. Whatever that is for you, you have to create something. And if you're listening to this and you feel like you're successful, challenge yourself. Like, even if you're saying, well, we'll be $100 million organization in 5 years, why not 200 million? I mean, what would make, what can help you get 200 million? Why are you, don't limit yourself. I mean, the idea of vision, here's the thing, the bigger your vision, the more you'll get successful people alongside you. I remember I was, talking to this coach, and he said to me, he said, I don't work with anyone who has a vision less than $10 million. And I thought, we were here, he and I were having this conversation, which is like, it's not fun. Like if someone says my 10-year vision is to be a $5 million dental practice, then there's just no game. That's easy. That's so easy. So it's like, give me something that's fun. Like, so you're not going to attract people like me if your ultimate vision is $5 million in 10 years. Like, I mean, good gosh. I mean, that's not that difficult of a goal. Yeah. It's got to be a really good goal. That's really exciting. It's got to be exciting. It's got to be something that you think, hey, look, this is a really exciting goal. And I'm telling you, like, if it doesn't get you out of the bed running full speed, then it's not big enough. It's not big enough. If it won't make you work late at night, it's not big enough. If it won't get you up early, it's not big enough. And so then you do this, but then what you got to do is break it down into chunks. Once you get this down, you have to be able to build that into actionable steps that your team can do. Now, one of the things we've done is we once we got down our goals, we broke everybody into teams. And so we break everyone into teams, and I broke because we did past tense, but this year we'll do the same thing. You break everyone into teams. And then what you do is say, okay, this is the hygiene team. This is the operations team, right? This is the restorative team. Well, however you want to do it. And then once you hit those goals, then you have to get what's fun to do is get every team broken out and say, what would they need to do in their process? Like, they need to come present to everybody else what they're going to do to reach that goal. Cause that's super cool. Right. So all of a sudden the hygiene says, okay, we would have to do this much. And so they come back to the team and they present what they're going to do in the next 12 months to reach that goal. And that's super awesome, because now all of a sudden they're taking ownership. You cast the vision. You said, this is where we're going. They bought into the vision. And so then I think it's most important to say at that point, well, what if someone doesn't buy into your vision?
Yeah. And I think when you have that conversation, if you need to have the conversation rather than just telling the hygiene team or your operations team, this is what it's going to do. Like, this is what it's going to look like. You need to have the conversation with them and say, all right, this is where I want to take it. So let's develop some realistic goals in order to do it. And what you'll see is, and, we had a client a couple of years back when he started changing his vision around, and some team members decided that they didn't want to be a part of it. Sometimes to be successful, you have to let the people go that are holding the organization back. When you're trying to be successful, you have to bring in successful people. One of the reasons, if you're listening to this and you've been, 3 million or 2 million for 10 years, 5 years now, and you can't seem to get to the next level, is because you probably haven't done a good enough job of casting the vision of where you want to take this company, because no one else in the organization is compelled enough to do more or ask for more or say, hey, we need to do this or we need to do that. Everyone has gotten to that point of comfortability where they don't feel the need to do that anymore.
So going back to Good to Great, and going back to these fundamental books, I said, if you go back and read these books, one of the things that you'll find out is that great CEOs, once they cast the vision, if someone's not on board, they're allowed to push back at the beginning. But if you have somebody who is not on board with your vision, then remove them from the organization. That doesn't mean they're not a good person, doesn't mean they're not successful, driven, those types of things, but they're ultimately not going to help you get to where you want to be. Great CEOs, like, look, you can push back, but once the bus is out of the station, this is where we're going. That is where you're going. And if you're not on that bus, then look, get off, like go somewhere else, because ultimately speaking, you have to drive that vision. And look, that's easier to say than do, right? I mean, it's challenging when you lose people. It's challenging to do that. But the long-term game plan is you have to have people that are fighting for your vision, that you have to be people that are fighting for where you're going. And if they don't see it, if they're not excited to come to work, if they're not excited about what we're doing, you can feel it. You can feel the energy way. You can feel the, every time you talk to them, you're like, oh gosh, I feel like I have to have a counseling session every time I talk to somebody, if they're not on the vision. So that makes it difficult. So you have to, not only do you have to set this time aside to create this, but then you need to make sure people are on your bus, and you have to make sure that you have to check in to make sure they're on the bus, because if someone's not on your bus, they will go and sabotage your bus. Remember Speed? Remember
Yes.
Like they will bring a bomb on your bus, and you only have so much time to get that damn bomb off the bus before they blow it up. And so you got to you got to make sure that you have the right people on the bus and there's no bombs on your bus. And if I'm telling you right now, you have the wrong person on your bus, they will put a bomb right on the middle of that damn thing, and they will look to blow it up every chance you get. And if you walk into a room and then you have to push this whole Speed thing, I like where it's going, by the way. If you have to walk every time you get on the bus, every time you walk into the office, if you've got to now diffuse the bomb every time you flipping walk in, that is onerous. It is not a way to life. It's not how you want to live life. It's like, look, I mean, if somebody doesn't agree with you, they can go start their own flipping business. Look, there's options, but you are driving this train. This is your business. This is your vision. This is what you created, and it's what you want long-term. And so ultimately speaking, if you are, going back to Lax podcast, someone who's humble, hungry, smart, cares about people, wants to help them, serve them, and you have somebody who's putting a bomb on that bus, who's ultimately speaking, I didn't say helping and serving people is easy. I didn't say creating an organization of purpose is just because you're an organization of purpose, then everybody gets along all the time and there's never any problems. No, business is hard ass work, and it takes time, and it takes constant leadership, and it takes constant turning around. But if ultimately speaking, you are not right, if you have people that have a bomb on your bus, I'm telling you right now, get them off the bus as quick as possible, because they will literally sabotage every effort to create something great.
Yeah. And it's things you need to identify as you create this goal and this game plan is who are the potential bombs? What could happen? So you can start mitigating. Hold
on a second. We went from Christmas gifts to now we're bombs on the bus. All right.
Die Hard's a Christmas movie.
So somehow we went Die Hard on this thing. We went it went from some Christmas movie around the fire with a cup of eggnog to Die Hard, right? So somehow it's Speed. So we turned everything into sports or action flicks, Matthew. I think that's
I like the movie references. I could do this all day. Reese is like, yes.
So Nokatami Plaza, whatever.
Yeah.
I'm pretty close, right? Pretty close, right? So Look, I think that what I want you to take from this podcast is this. And I see 25 minutes roughly. So it's the 25th day at Christmas, right? So here we go.
Perfect.
So look, find your time, find your Inert time. Be very specific. Write down your plan for the year. Work with your leaders during this time. Carve out the plan. Present it for a day or two. Get people in teams. Have them present how they're going to help the organization grow. Move patience. Book the time. It's to set the year off right. You'll make more revenue. You'll impact more people. You'll have more success. You'll have people on board your team. It's the right way to start a year. Don't start a year with just jumping in, seeing patience. Start a year with vision, strategic direction, and an action plan.
I like it.
Merry Christmas, everybody.
Merry Christmas.
Happy holidays. Wishing you all the best out there, and we'll see you next time.